Thank you, Ken. What a lovely introduction. It sounds like something I've written myself. So welcome to Innovating Leadership Through the Inside Out. As it says there behind me, it's going to be a conversation about creating and leading communities of learning and communities of collective wisdom in the name of a sustainable and a peaceful world. This is going to be a slightly different interaction than you had so far in terms of I need a bit of your input, and you've got to do something in this conversation. And one thing is, I want you to have little or nothing on your mind. Can you do that? You know, I know we have a lot of intellectual people in here. We're going to have an intellectual interaction. The words that will come out will be, at an intellectual level. But the other thing I need you to do is this, and don't be alarmed. Yeah, don't be alarmed. I want you to not listen to my words. All right? Do not listen to the words I'm telling you. I've got a PowerPoint presentation, some pretty pictures. The magic and the information I'm sharing with you is not in those slides. It's not in the words on there. I will share stories. I will tell metaphors. I will show you some illustrations. The information is not in that space. All right? It's before the words. So Ken alluded to, we talk a lot about sustainability and processes and different approaches, but also what I've been hearing for the last few days, there's also a bit of frustration to actually getting the stuff out into the world. I spent most of my last 25 years or so in learning and exploring the cognitive side of human potential. What's going on the inside. So how do we create meaning? Become really good at how do we create meaning? I understand how that we have this thing called a brain and a mind who can make things up, right, about the world out there. And we tend to act on it, but it can get us into trouble. So I want to explore that a little bit and then give you a little bit of a sort of another avenue. Let's start with this gold mine. Have a look around. We're all sitting on the gold mine. Okay? There's a metaphorical gold mine, by the way. Okay? A gold mine of ideas, of solutions, a gold mine of how many of you are in relationships? And if you don't want to put up your hands, that's okay. How many appreciate a loving relationship? Yeah? How many of you have searched for love from the outside? How many of you and then you may have not received it from the outside, right? There's unconditional love already around. All right, we don't have to search for it on the outside. There's unconditional peace out there. So the other thing I want to give you is the key to the kingdom. There's a metaphorical key to the kingdom. I'm not a religious person, so the things I'm sharing are meant to be metaphorically. So as I said earlier, about most of my the last 20, 25 years, I've spent in exploring the cognitive behavioural side of human function, of human experience. And in 2015, I was invited to go to Hong Kong to speak at a human potential conference. And I thought I had found the key to the kingdom. I said, well, I'll give you the key to the kingdom. And the stuff I've been teaching and coaching people about was pretty useful. In terms of, we had people walk away from our programs who had quite fundamental shifts. Things like some people they came to a program and some of the goals they said, I'm looking for a new job. I don't like the one that I have. Within a week, they get a phone call from an employer that they had send in a application 4 months earlier, and so out of the blue, this employer would call up and say, "Hey, we have an opening. Would you be interested?" And we had a number of experiences like this. We had a lady who was divorced for 6 years, and there was an animosity with her ex-husband. They shared a couple of kids. On the following day, after the program ended, she received a phone call from the ex-husband saying, "Hey, we should be on more amicable terms to the benefit of our children." So a lot of things would happen when people had sort of shifts on the inside. Something seemed to change in their energy, and that kind of connected with somewhere outside with the community, with other people. So I thought I had the key to the kingdom, and until probably about a bit of a year and a half ago, I got to experience another dimension, which I will share with you in a moment, which I found was much true to that kingdom. I'd like to point this quote here. Anyone who hasn't heard this quote before? Okay, a gentleman called Mr. Gandhi. I'm sure most of us heard of him. "Be the change you wish to see in the world." What a beautiful quote. It rolls so easily off the tongue. But how come that we still, we sort of have advanced tremendously when it comes to technology. Look at this. Sometimes I really in wonder, because I look at this building here, I look at this technology. All the things that were created as a human race out of nothing, out of this planet, out of the earth. Isn't that incredible? Yet, what happened to our mental, behavioural, and our spiritual competency? Where have we advanced with that? How come we still entertain wars? How come we still entertain with domestic violence? We heard from some of the youth speakers yesterday, how concerned they are with mental illness and not getting jobs, and so anxiety, depression. And that got a bit closer to home when a few years ago, when I was speaking to a friend of a friend who was a bit of a grumble bum. Have you met grumble bums on this planet? And this was sort of a person a nice guy, but all I heard from this person was like, if I was in government, I'd do this, right? And parents shouldn't do this. They should treat their children differently. They should keep them in line. And he did a lot of this. And I thought to myself, and I said to him, well, if you were going to look in the mirror, what kind of behaviours would you see? It's exactly the same behaviours you're pointing at that are pointing at you. Yeah? So be the change you wish to see to me, and I will share this with my audiences. If you want to have a peaceful world, you've got to show up peacefully, in peace. If you want someone to be calm, you have to be calm first. Right? So bit of some questions to reflect on. You've seen some of these questions, especially if you were here yesterday. What I want you to do, again, with nothing, keep that in mind, with nothing on your mind. Just briefly reflect on some of these questions. For example, the big one here, why are you here? And it's not the question because Jane rang me up and said, you've got to be here in this room today. It's like, why do you exist? Why are you here? So just for a moment, reflect on those questions. And then what I'd like you to do is just... you can find someone in the room who's sitting close and just have a brief exchange with why you're here. Now, the why you're here answer may be a sentence. It may be a metaphor. It may be a picture. It may be a feeling. It doesn't matter. And when you're the person sharing, the other person receiving, what I want you to do is just, again, listen with nothing on your mind. Don't try to intellectualize what's coming out of the other person's mouth, what they're sharing with you. Just be wisdom. All right? So when you're ready, just turn to your back, turn to your side, or move across if you found someone, and just briefly exchange with you why you're here. what you may be seeking to learn, what kind of problems you may be wanting to solve. So what kind of experience did you have? What did you hear? What did you say? What did you feel? Who would like to share some of what came out of them? Or what did you hear from the other people? What did you hear from yourself? Who would like to share? Okay. By the way, that's my beautiful darling. It's my render crowd. All right.
When you talk about like why you're here, I think there is a certain sense of like appreciation for what each other are doing.
So sense of appreciation. Right.
I wasn't sharing things, but I was listening into a group down here, and I got a very deep sense of who they were behind the mask that we show. And I was listening to them talk, a very deep sense of who they were.
Yeah. Jane? Yeah, helping humanity. A sense of connection. Yeah. Yeah. And what I want you to do just for now is just take note where that message is coming from. All right? Because that's sort of, when you start, and some of you may already have that sense, but when we know where these messages are coming from, that's really, well, as far as I'm concerned, very critical in terms of, in sense of living a more enriching life and being more aligned with, a sustainable planet, with a peaceful planet, with peaceful humanity. We'll talk about that a bit more in a moment. Oh, I shouldn't have gone there yet. I'll go there. Now, I want to tell you a little story about this. Is about how we show up on the planet. And again, I'll probably talk to the converted here. That's why you're probably here. But in terms of spreading the gospel, I'm talking in very religious language, and I'm not religious at all. But in terms of going first, all right? Here's my little metaphor about Yetis and Bigfoots. And it goes like this. During the time of the great snows, long before you and I were born, high up in the mountains, there lived a tribe of Yetis, led by the very wise Yeti elder Unga, the paramount leader during the great snows. Through Unga's guidance, wisdom, and leadership, the tribe lived happily through all the trials and tribulations they met. One could hear them at night, singing and dancing around the fire. Meanwhile, down in the valleys, there lived another tribe, the Bigfoots, led by the rather miserable Quaquang. Quaquang and the Bigfoots lived through the same trials and tribulations as the Yeti, but doing it tough and living a rather unhappy existence. Quaquang and the Bigfoots looked enviously at the lives that the Yetis lived and the success that they achieved. What was their secret? Unga, understanding the laws of nature and the universe, encouraged the tribe to always and utterly work within those laws. Quaquang and the Bigfoots, however, did not understand these basic laws and often ignored and even violated them. Where the Yetis picked up fallen tree branches and firewood fallen tree branches and scrap for firewood, planted their seeds amongst the trees and used the trees for shelter. Quaquang and the Bigfoots chopped down whole trees, eroded the land, and ended up without shelter. The Yetis lived a life of harmony and collaboration. They were helping one another to fulfill each other's dreams. And the Bigfoots, they lived a life of rivalry and jealousy. They were behaving rather selfishly. Now it's said, whenever there's a great snow upon us, a greater and wiser Unga will appear and awaken the Yeti in those who are ready to experience their own Yeti wisdom. Is there another great snow upon us? Are you ready to experience your own Yeti wisdom? And have a look in the mirror, and you may just see Unga Ste Aja. Now, once in a while, I have someone in the audience. I tell the story quite often because it really sets the scene for what I'm about and what I'm teaching and where I'm trying to point people. Aren't Yetis and Bigfoots the same? To which I kind of respond like, do they exist? Are two people the same? Could the Bigfoot and the Yeti be one and the same person? Think about it. How many of you have woken up in the mornings? Oh, sorry, I didn't tell you. I asked trick questions at times. Yeah, we kind of had a Bigfoot mood. In a Bigfoot mood, so one of these days, you walk into the bathroom, you look in the mirror, and go like, "Oh, he's an ugly face." And then you go out in the world, and the kind of everything looks grim. You hate the world, and the world hates you. Yeah. Whereas on the flip side. You might have woken up with a spring in your step, and you probably do that more often than not. There's a spring in your step, and you're walking out there, and you smile at the world, the world smiles at you. It seems to be so easily connect. We don't see the world as it is. Another one of my favourite quotes. We see the world as we are. We are a projector. We are a projector. Yeah? Because we walk in the same world from the Bigfoot, and it looks grey, and we walk it through the Yeti, and the world is smiling at us, right? So, and to me, I always say to people, look, it doesn't matter if you have a Bigfoot moment. It's just how much time you spent there. Yeah. So, if anyone is here who wants Bigfoot, not for me, right? I once ran a workshop, a leadership workshop, and I had people from about 10 organisations in the room. I said, how many of you are working in a Bigfoot organisation? How many people do you think put up their hands? From how many companies were covered by a Bigfoot? 80%. I think it was closer to 100. Okay, some go, oh, a bit of that, which is probably true. But it's the metaphor. I'm about, how many of you are familiar with Maslow's? Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy of need. Where I'm pointing is to the higher levels of need. All right. The reason why change doesn't work because it's done transactionally at the lower levels. Do things differently. Now that's fine. Like use a different computer, sit in a different place, use a different program. Make sure you comply to all of the sustainability, environmental regulations. Right. That's all fine. Now for Andy, it's easy because he's aligned with it. His whole purpose is making a difference in terms of keeping the environment safe. Yeah. Someone else who doesn't have that, yes, they will comply to it, but it feels unnatural, and it might feels I want to resist it. Yeah. So we don't see the world as this; we see the world as we are. So have a quick, so how are you showing up to play? Just turn to the person. You don't have to sit with them. Just turn next to them and just ask them that question. You don't even have to answer it out loud. How are you showing up as a Bigfoot or as a Yeti? And I'm warning you, there's a responsibility that comes with that. Because you have to go first.
Wait, so we're just choosing?
That's right. Okay, show of hands, how many Yetis have you got in the room? The hands go up slowly, a bit of doubt there. All right. Okay. Now, this is you want a choice? Yeah. To do something else. Oh, sure. Just on that now, being a Bigfoot, I'm giving a bit of a contrast. The things, we're not superhumans, right? We are a body, mind, emotion, and spiritual being in that sense. We're actually feeling emotions. I mean, emotion is a feeling in the body, sensation, and we're giving it a label. Hence, depression. I'm feeling depressed. Well, we're labeling a feeling in the body. Yeah, I'm feeling joyful. I'm labeling a feeling in the body. Yeah. So, because we can do that, we have been given this cognitive ability that, as far as I know, other animals can't do. We can bring meaning to meaning. We can bring feelings to feelings. We can bring thinking to our thinking. Yeah. So I come back to that because I want to put another subframe under that. Now, I absolutely love this, the relationship truths. Relationships are all there is. Everything in the universe only exists because it is in relationship to everything else. Nothing exists in isolation. We have to stop pretending that we're individuals that can get it alone or go it alone. Now, I've used that in 2015 in Hong Kong, and so I'm recycling it. And I looked at the author, Margaret Wheatley, and she'd written Leadership and the New Science. And I happen to just at the moment read Who Do We Choose to Be? I can only highly recommend to read her stuff. She writes it, she puts some pessimism on what's going on, especially with the digital world. She talks about the digital age is killing the information age. And she asked to come back to noble leadership. It is about humanity. Yeah. And yeah, I can only highly recommend her stuff. It's really thought-provoking, but it's a call for action. And what she says, leadership at the global level, we'll pass it. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. It has to come from the local levels. And I think this is something that's happening here to a large degree. I think that's why the people in the room are here, yeah, to reach out. So, but everything is in relationship to each other. And I think the other important thing, and she points that out, and you may be aware of that we as humans think we're different from the planet. That we think we're standing above it and we can control it, rather than that we're just part of this living organism. Yeah, we're part of it. And it's this young man here, James, just on Monday he said to be in partnership with the planet. Now, so what mind is guiding you? So I already sort of talked about that thing is what I refer to as, it's the ego mind, yeah, the dimension of thought. It's the world of form and illusion. Form means that thing tries to make sense. The reason why I'm asking you to to listen with nothing on your mind and not to listen to the words I'm saying is because that the intellectual mind wants to put everything into a box. So it can then evaluate, judge it. Is that for me? Does that fit? Is that the same what I'm thinking? And that really can get us into trouble. So it's the world of illusion. I like to treat everything that comes out of here as, you hear people say, I believe this and I believe this and this is very important to me, or this freaks me out. And this, it's all in relation to your own map of reality. And you're feeling, you're thinking. It's always thought in the moment. You're feeling your thought in the moment. Not something that happened 20 years ago, not something that hasn't occurred yet. It's right here now. And to be able to have that ability to step back and to actually have awareness of that. It's outside in myth. We're living in, there's a misunderstanding for a lot of people thinking that their circumstances creating their thinking and creating their feeling. How many of you had that? How many have pointed at a loved one and said, you make me feel this way? Right? You make me feel this way. Now, those of you in relationships, leadership doesn't start as leading other people. Leadership starts with leading self. Yeah? As I pointed out, I have my lovely partner in the room, and she will tell you I am a human. I have human moments. I get angry at times. I get pissed off at things. But the thing is, I don't know if you've ever had the experience, or you probably wouldn't because you're superhuman, that someone says something to you, maybe a loved one, and it kind of irritates you. Like, dare you say that? How come you do that? Or how come you don't do this for me? And to actually catch yourself that, oh my God, I just reacted. I nearly jumped at my partner, not in a sexual way, but in more, in an angry way, and just pull back. Hang on, what I'm feeling is the edge of what I call my map of reality. It feels like when you blow up a balloon, and it gets to that point where it's a bit tense and about to burst. Yeah, and to actually step back and hang on, this is just my shit. It's what I'm comfortable with, what I know about the world, how I think it works. Yeah. Because people constantly think about the complexity of you trying to get everyone on this planet to be on the same path and help make this planet healthy. And you're bringing all of these different agendas into the game. You know, you've got the Trump of this world who want to, God knows what he wants. You've got people who don't climate skeptics, so they want to run off in another direction. I mean, it's all illusionary based. So in trying to bring all of these together can be really complex. The other thing is there's so much stuff coming at us now. I think some of us old enough, I assume, you sort of in my age bracket, will remember, you know, dial-up phones, right? We remember an age before we had computers. Yeah, there wasn't as much stuff coming at us that we had to process. Now with the digital age, there's so much fake news coming at us and fake stuff coming at us, and it's trying, especially, you know, we had some young people here yesterday. How are they all processing? It's hard enough for me in that sense to make sense of what's right and what's wrong, or what is good and what is not good. To be able to step, it takes something. The reason is this: it doesn't have a BS detector. Those of you who do not know what BS stands for, it is bullshit. We don't have any young people in this room. Yeah, we don't. This thing doesn't have a bullshit detector. It can't distinguish naturally, innately, what's good stuff and what's not good stuff. Yeah. So you really have to have that ability to step back and to have that higher level awareness. What's going on? So so I've been spending the last good 25 years into discovering how that works. But sometimes we get drawn into the illusion. What the thinker thinks, the prover proves. You know, how many of you have a name? Another trick question. Yeah. And how long have you had your name for? Okay, some longer than others. How do you know it's your name? How do you know that your name is true? Your name is only a label. And it's just, that label has been confirmed as a concept. And it has been confirmed. You know, your parents called you your name, right? Michiko. Then your siblings would have called you that name. Your friends would have called you the name. And at school, your teachers would have called your name. Your peers, and blah, 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 blah. So it's mind into muscle. That's how thinking gets into the neurology and becomes natural, becomes embodied. So if I call you your name, you probably, in a crowd, you probably would look up, wouldn't you? And a belief just works in the same way. And if a belief is not useful, you know, people act on their beliefs, and then they're missing out. They're having fights over that with other people because they're having a map war, belief wars, one illusion to the other. So, oh, by the way, that's sort of what I call the web of the mind. And very much, I don't want to get into detail. That's I adapted from Dr. Michael Hall, Matrix of the Mind. Dr. Michael Hall is a American psychologist, but he's the founder and head of the International Society of Neuro-Semantics. He discovered the high-level need states. He really continued on the work of Maslow's, and that's essentially if I teach you this stuff, you can map that over a person, and you can actually follow the energy. What's on people's minds? What's driving them, and how does it show up in behaviour? Yeah, so we can actually engage people at the higher levels of need rather than just in an exchange in a transactional way. It actually we're going into a transformational place. Yeah, I'll talk about intentionality in a moment too. So what's a better place to go? The universal mind. Dimension. I call it the dimension of insight. Now, some of you would refer to it as the innate intelligence, as universal wisdom. You know, call it what you like. What is that? Innate intelligence of the energy behind life. You know, how many of you are alive? Who created you? How did you show up like this? Yeah. I like to call it the dimension of insight because how many of you have had an insight in a aha moment? Had a bright idea, just suddenly rocked up somewhere. Yeah? Where did that come from? Where did that idea come from? From a field? The field. You call it the field. I haven't. Sounds back to. I haven't read it. No, the field. So what's the field?
all this information is around us all the time.
Yes, all of that.
You can, for instance, you've got Newton's laws. And there's a small box outbreak at university.
Yeah.
You're at home on the floor of the kitchen table.
Yeah.
With no lab, no problem. You're at Newton's laws.
Yeah.
On the field.
Yeah. So all of that stuff is around us. The difference between the metaphor I like to use is if this here is like a computer, standalone computer that is not connected to the internet. How many of you remember a computer that wasn't? Well, how many of you have a computer that is not? It's not connected to the internet. So very useful. Some people do. It's like then you just regurgitate what's in it. Yeah. The universal mind is like it's cosmic Google. And thoughts can't come from anywhere. Yeah. And the beautiful part of this is you start to observe your thoughts. How many of you have observed your thoughts? How many of you have tried to control thoughts? I like people, I want to control this. I have negative thinking. I'm going to change it. Have you ever done that?
Every day.
And did they really go away? Right, you get more of it. How many of you have stood on the side of on the edge of a river and just watched the river go by, or the water go by? For how long are you looking at the same water? Split second. And thoughts come and go, and they're not always your own thoughts. All right. So that's another thing is when I asked you to listen to this with nothing on your mind. In my old world, I would teach people to let's go up the levels. Let's see what drives this insecure thinking or this insecure feeling or the lack of low self-esteem, whatever you call it. And so, oh, what do you think about? So I can't speak in public because, oh my God, I might stuff up. Oh, and so what does that mean to you? Oh, it means I'm a failure. Oh, interesting. And if you're a failure, what does that mean to you? It means, oh, I'm not a valuable person. And you go up these levels, and you go, oh, let's change it up here. Let's give it a different meaning, and then bring it back in the body. And often that was quite useful, and it worked for a little while. But you know what? You don't have to go to that place. You just have to let it settle. Let's see if I have this. Back to a minute. This is a self-correcting. The universal mind is a self-correcting system. How many of you have seen a snow dome? What happens when you shake the snow dome?
Blurry.
Yes. How much clarity is there when that? You know. Now, some people will take that snow globe and say, okay, well, you need to let it settle, right? It's like the mind. You have clarity. So people go to the beach and go, oh, go to the beach, that must be the place. Yeah? Oh, still not coming down. Oh, I'm going to the forest, where it's in peace and quiet. It's still not going to settle. I might have to go on the mountain somewhere. Oh, it's still not going to settle. So all you have to do is just sit it down and let it settle. Let the mind settle. It doesn't matter where you are. And it's amazing that solutions just suddenly pop up. I have when I say solving problems, the everyday problems in work and so on, things you have to work out, help people out, and sometimes they're a little bit complex or, not straightforward. And solutions have often just popped up. Or someone else solved the problem before you could get there. You connect at a totally different level. People suddenly have aha moments just by being in your presence. Just want to quickly flick back. That the universal mind operates outside the realms of this. It's before the thought. That's why insecurity, even joy, even our constructed form of joy, depression, all of these things don't exist. So when I talked about the gold mine, we're all sitting on a gold mine of mental health. It's already there. So I like this one. I was a playwright, so I'm not a psychologist, not some particular wise person of like a Gandhi, but the world is not to be put in order. The world is order already. It's for us to put ourselves in unison with that order. All right. So next time you have too much thinking going on, stand back and just let it settle. I'm not sure if you, sometimes with Teresa, it was text messaging. Someone, say, have you ever sent someone a text message and you expected them to text back and they didn't? Or not in the time frame you were expecting them, and you get a bit like, I'm like one of those people that I would jump to conclusions with the mind on. And I would jump to conclusions and find out what's going on. You know, this allows me to go like, it's just my shit. Let it go. River, thoughts, go on. You know, within 5 minutes this text comes or the phone call comes. Or it's just amazing. How are we going for time? 10 minutes? Good. So what mind are you leading through? And I'm deliberately using the word through. We're not leading at people, we're leading through people. Yeah. One thing I found when I was teaching the old way and about the structure of flow, so I recognize the structure of flow. I can easily teach that to someone. I can easily, when someone in flow, we can explore what the structure is of that. And as I was teaching, someone was asking or running a program. Someone said to me, "Mike, where are you when you do your stuff?" I was like, interesting question. I thought, well, it was like I wasn't conscious physically conscious of my physicality and actually being physically in the room. It was like I was hovering above myself and I was floating throughout the room. Yeah, it was like in every fabric of that room. That kind of a sense you get. Anyone has had a moment of flow or being in the zone, you might get that sense. So, ego mind is a supportive servant of the universal mind. You know, often this works the other way around. We're allowing this part to mask the universal part. It's like we're disconnecting from it. So in a way, this graphic is the universal mind. The universal mind drives where we're leading from, and then when it shows up, when an insight shows up, it has to. By that time, it has been converted into the world of form. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see it. The universal wisdom hasn't got form. That's why trying to explain this just straight out will just not work unless you're already there. That's why I'm talking about keep your mind quiet. So listen behind the words. Right? Intentionality. Energy flows where attention goes is directed by intention. Until I've seen that, I always had sort of confusion between intention and attention. How many of you got here today? Yeah, everyone's in the room. Without intention, you wouldn't have gotten here today. Now, behavior is never wrong, right? Behavior is never wrong. It will always serve the intention. If you want something really badly that's highly connected to your purpose, the body will just do what it needs to do. I just want to use as an example. This is not about weight loss in this room, but weight loss. If anyone comes over to me and says, "Hey, I want to lose some weight," but I've tried for the last 10 years, it just hasn't worked. All right. So behaviour is telling. How easy do you think it is to lose weight? At a transactional level, the logic is what? You eat differently, you exercise, right? Pretty straightforward. So why it's not happening for some people? Okay, because it's the intention. So if you think about what often happens, is anyone in the room who doesn't like to work out? Okay, some people. So for some people, working out means heavy work. And you're going to change your eating too. Eat more green stuff, take some carbs out, all the sweets, and it's like, So, let's put it in the box, heavy, too difficult. So what's the intention now? Now runs in the background, in the back of your head, avoidance. So your body does everything to support and to serve avoidance. It will wake up in the morning and go like, I was going to go for a walk this morning and I'll just sleep another 10 minutes. Tomorrow. I'll do it after work, After work, I'm too tired now, need to cook. And there's some stuff on Netflix. So, So it always serves the intention. Just for those of you who need illustrations to the intellectual mind, the intention is the why. Why do we do what we do? It's introspective. Generally, it's insight. Attention is the thing that we're paying attention to on the outside, and we filter out everything else. Yeah? The question is also now, where does your intention come from? Because often the other thing with change work is that change doesn't work if it's not aligned with, if it's a deeper intention, generally it will be aligned. But if, people often change for the change's sake, or someone told them they need to change, or they change for something that they think they want, but that's actually not what they necessarily want. So where does the intention come from? Chip Conley wrote this book, Peak. Now, Chip Conley was the founder and owner of Joy de Vivre, which is the largest hotel boutique chain in the US. Especially, are you familiar with Joy de Vivre? It's a boutique hotel chain. A lot was over in the San Francisco Bay Area. And Chip managed to triple his business during the dot-com crash and during 9/11. Right? A lot of hospitality businesses probably went down the hill during that period. And he actually built his business on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So this book is about how companies got their mojos through Maslow's. It's all about higher level needs. He would measure this business like what makes our people's staff's job worthwhile, right down to the cleaner. What makes your job worthwhile coming here? Same as customers. What makes your experience with our service worthwhile? And that's how we managed to reconnect during the tough times. But what's interesting with him was he spent some time in Bhutan, and as some of you probably know, they measure their success by gross national happiness. So he mentioned the story of the Prime Minister asked by a journalist, so you're in the business of creating happiness? And he said, no, we're not. We're in the business of creating happiness. We don't create happiness, we're in the business of creating conditions where happiness can occur. And to me, that is, I used this in, I don't know how many thousands of people I've worked with, and it's about being a learning leader, transformation professional, whatever we call it. It's a label. Create an environment where people can have this is my thing, have an awareness, have insight, and then awaken that insight, bring it to life. That's really what, that's sort of my recipe for success, but come from this deep place. So people can come up with their own solutions, their own insights. So I don't give them the insight. I can't give them the insight. But it's nothing more beautiful by the way, I treat everything as a conversation. This is a conversation as a group. On a training session as a conversation. I sit across a table with someone having a coffee. It's a conversation between two human souls. Yeah, not with someone that needs fixing. And it's incredible when suddenly there's a shift in the person and you have done very little other than having a conversation. It's a really beautiful place. And it's kind. It's not the Tony Robbins stuff, gotta get that change, massive action, right? Andy, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's kind, it's gentle. It doesn't need rough treatment. And this stuff happens everywhere. Just bring that up. 2015, we had a 3-hour delay in Melbourne, and I was fortunate to spend this time with this gentleman from Hong Kong. He had lived in Australia for 20 years. He moved back to Hong Kong. He's a engineering consultant dealing with water technologies, and he had some frustrations in actually, talking to governments and government departments in Hong Kong. We actually talked about this stuff. I've seen him again, but the thing is, learning is everywhere, and it's just having conversations. So, what environments do you want to create where awareness, insight, and awakening can occur? Something to think about. Where learning, insight, and transformation can occur, or you put your own words in. It's in the intention. What are you trying to create? What environment? We haven't got time, so I've got these slides there, not because I need to go through all of them. It's just some resources I can draw on. I'm going to flick through this. Let me tell you that. Just very quickly, from an organisation point of view, that's what you see meaning on the left-hand side, and you see performance on the bottom. Meaning, performance. Meaning is what's happening in our head, our why. Performance is the doing. Now, we were just approached the other day by an organisation who have cultural issues. So we sat down and go like, and immediately went like, oh my God, we're surviving, driving sort of mode. All right. Now, some companies just busy. It's all transactional. Get those sales in, get those numbers in. And then you have burnout. There's not much purpose. Now, Kate was saying Bendigo Bank is purpose-driven. There's high purpose, and I'm not sure what the performance is. So when that comes together, thriving, that's where we call it the flow, being in the flow, and the here and the now. You're connected to all of your resources, a sense of to all of your resources. You're connected with self. You're connected with people. Yeah, high purpose, high performance. Yeah. So leading with grounding. It starts with you. Leading self through the inside out, the embodiment of how life works. Pay attention to where your thinking comes from. Is it just coming from here, or has it been channeled from another place? The more you're paying attention, the more you have to experience, the more you will probably know what I'm talking about. Right? 2 years ago, when I started this journey, I said to people, I was on a coaching program with 36 other people from around the planet. I said, look, I'm doing stuff for myself to discover this more. I'm thinking I will talk about this. 6 months later, we started sort of transforming into this other space because it makes all this stuff redundant. It's absolutely beautiful. So then what I refer to as impact. Leading with impact. Once you ground it, it's always, by the way, if something doesn't work, it comes back to your grounding. And when you ground it, you connect it to that space within, another word to use, and you don't even have to try. Have you ever tried to connect with someone? I need to connect with that person. You try really hard from here. Okay, again, you just connect from that deeper place. Pointing from to the innate, not pointing from here to here. It's where does your conversation come from, and where does it point? Because the intellect of the other person might not get it. Yeah, but I'm pointing at from the innate to the innate. And then leading transformation. This is where creativity, innovation, collaboration occurs within that space. All right, I'm nearly done. So, if anyone wants to have more of a conversation, feel free. So why innovate leadership through the inside out? And this is a time when I just want to read a little bit. All right. Imagine a world in which all of mankind coexists in peaceful and harmonious ways, where we innately operate in unison with the laws of nature and the universe, and treat our planet with kindness and with care, being in partnership with it. A world where we tap into our natural creativity and innovate for sustainability and for the greater good of humanity and all things living. Where our economies are human-centric. I think, guys, this is one of, we can do so much wheeling, dealing, pushing, whatever. I just think, and I don't know where this change will come from if it comes, moving from a human-centric focus to a human-centric rather than money-centric. I think that's sort of call them root of all evil. If it's all about the money, there's nothing wrong with the money, it's with how we're using it, as this exchange. That's where this leadership stuff comes in, coming from a different place. Money is great. I love money. But not for the detriment of someone else. I can still not. I do get it that someone on the east coast of the US, in some building, who deals with shares, presses a button to make a bit of profit. That someone on the west coast is going to lose their house, their home. Someone who just wants to have a home. And because of greed, someone has to lose their home, which they already knew before, and they will lose their home. It ain't right. And it's not right from the innate intelligence. That's not what the innate is all about. It will not come from there. Right? So, where we run our business and commerce from a place of abundance and collaboration rather than scarcity and competition. Utopia? Perhaps, right? But if we continue as we do, what will the future hold for our planet, for future generations and humanity at large? When we live and lead through our innate intelligence, thought becomes a supportive servant. It transforms lives, it transforms organisations, communities, where innate peace, love, harmony, creativity, collaboration and well-being resides. I'll leave you with this. What will you do to be the change that you want to see in the world? And I know most of you are already doing that. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. We might have time for a little bit of couple of questions or comments. Any questions or comments from our community today?
James.
Just looking through the various steps that you're talking about, I'm just curious, is Maslow kind of part of the...
Yeah, absolutely. For Dr. Michael Hall has, he was modelling resilience, so the neuro-linguistic programming model, and he found that the traditional model just didn't help him find what it was that made the difference. So he then was talking to people who had overcome some trauma, and they were saying, it was like I was stepping away from myself and watching myself. And he realised there was something, and people who have self-reflexivity. They can look at their own thinking, but also people who generally live in sort of the high level, the abundance needs, to have more robust, high quality frames of mind about the world out there. But again, I think coming from that, there was a slide I was going to show you, but we're out of time. Last year, in a transition from teaching, coming more from that cognitive behavioural approach to the innate intelligence, I tried to figure out, when I was still sort of trying to think about it, what's the difference between the flow that we teach people how to do flow from the cognitive side versus this other side. I didn't get it first. And also, a gentleman called Michael Neal, American, I'm sure if you've heard of him, and he was giving a presentation, and he said, well, think about thoughts per minute, and I'm making up these numbers. 0 to 50 thoughts per minute. That's when your mind is really quiet and peaceful. There's nothing on your mind. That's when fresh thought just pops up. New ideas. Endless. And the next one is 50 to 150. You're fully engaged, you're focused. Things will just in time, you get the right things coming up, the right ideas, the right solutions, but it's when you actually involve the specific tasks, when you do your writing, when you do your painting, when you do your relaxing. And then there's 150 to 250. The life's going good, a little bit stressed, and it's 250 to 350. Gee, life would be much better, wasn't it, these morons, right? And it's 350 upwards. Fuck you. Right? And that moment, I heard what he said. When I say I heard what he said, I listened behind the word. I was like, oh my God, I've just seen it. I've just experienced it. In NLP, we often referring to the map is not the territory. I'm sure if anyone heard of that. It means the map, how we see the world, is not generally not the same as what reality is like. And as I was going through this coaching program last year in the Innate, I was the head trainer from this firm I was doing the coaching session with. He was also NLP trained, not at the same level as I am. And I was trying to, I got a bit passionate. I was trying to, he doesn't know what I know. And he went like, Mike, are you trying to convince me? I said, what do you mean? I said, you know about the map and the territory. What if you found the territory? The source. And it was one of these moments where I'm like, oh my God, I've just seen it. And so since then I have more and more of these experiences. And I mean, this conference is a great one. I have a bit of a competitive mindset in my head. I'm not a competitor against other people out there. But inside, if someone presents and I go like, this going on in my head. I know the stuff. I know it's better. Or this going on. But now I can just sit here with nothing on my mind. It's like I'm just here in the moment. I don't have to compete with it. I can just enjoy and listen behind the words, or just be in the presence. It's just a beautiful space, and it connects generally because you connected. Long answer.
And I do think that's quite a good spot to. I guess to a certain degree that has been a thought that has been reinforced through a lot of the presentations, even from day one, day two, even the culmination of today, is are we able to take in those lessons and enjoy that learning for what it is and be able to incorporate it in some form or fashion.
Just with the that snow dome, I told this, I'm also teaching in vocational education. I had a group of 60-odd students in front of me in a lecture theatre like this, and I told them that metaphor. And I had two of them, a girl and a boy sitting in the front, and they go, hey, they were giggled. And I go, hey, what's going on? Tell me. They looked at me and went, we got it at the same time. And to me, that's just such a gift. To get that response, that's the reward. But I can't get it for them. They got it. It's like, wow, they're only 19, 20 years of age. They already got it. How beautiful is that? That's my gift. We're standing up on the shoulders of giants, as someone said earlier, right? Like you, Michiko, we're messengers. And we're taking something that we have learned and we're passing it on.
Would you join me again? And thank you, Mike. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, communities, thank you very much for being in our...